On June 1st, Ukraine executed the biggest attack on Russia's air force since the end of World War II. Dozens of strategic nuclear missile carriers were destroyed. 2 days after, on June 3rd, the Ukrainians blew up Russia's second most guarded civilian facility, second after Putin's underground bunker, the Crimean Bridge. 2 massive blows to Russia's security in just 3 days. But do you know what? It's after the attacks where it gets interesting. Welcome to the aftermath, where Putin has finally spoken and gave the answer to Ukrainian attacks, and the American President Donald Trump commented on that. Howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, you will not find any propaganda, BS, lies here. You will find plenty of truth, common sense, and logic, and some emotions too, because, hey, I'm a human being after all. Quite an interesting topic I have for you today. I'm sitting and watching things developing with my jaw dropped. That's a little preview. Now, I covered the details of the attacks in my 2 previous videos. 2 attacks, 2 videos. And if you haven't watched them, I suggest you go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put the links, somewhere in the description or in a pinned comment. The videos are quite insightful. And now I want to tell you the story, what's been unfolding after the attacks. Here's what's important. I have quite a few important topics for you. Interesting developments, really. An interesting development number 1, Russian officials are caught lying again. On the day of Crimea Bridge attack, both Russian state and propaganda announced that there was no attack. And the video that Ukrainians released, this one, is absolute fake. Fake. A part of informational warfare that Ukraine, backed by the evil West, of course, by Europe for sure now, perhaps the USA falls into the evil West again. I think that's going to happen very soon. Okay, so Ukraine, backed by the evil West, waging on Russia, that the war, informational war. 1 day later, yesterday, Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov announced that in fact, there was the attack on the Crimean Bridge. And this explosion was real after all. A question immediately appears for Dmitry Peskov. At least I have this question. So who is lying? The officials 2 days ago saying that there was no explosion, or you yesterday saying there was an explosion? Well, it's a rhetorical question, I just couldn't resist catching them liars red-handed one more time. I love doing that. Liars! What Putin and his propaganda are doing right now fits perfectly well into George Orwell's control equation. Who controls the present controls the past, and who controls the past controls the future. A perfect example for you. After the explosion of the bridge, they said, there was no explosion. And just 1 day after, 1 day later, they said, oh, there was an explosion indeed. But yesterday, you said there was no explosion. Who said that? Us? We never said that. No, we didn't say, we couldn't have said that. Oh, come on, no. Wasn't us. We never said that. I think they're learning from the best. An interesting development number 2, Russian Z community. Z community, Z people, the reporters, Z bloggers, военкоры, and it's simply those people who are loud supporting the war. They have gone wild. Reaction of the attacks has been storm-like. Very strong words have been used, and sparks are still flying in the air. This time, it's very different though. This time, unlike other times, they are angry at Russian armed forces and the KGB. Some even aren't happy with Putin himself, although they choose their words very wisely. They say something like, "We have weak leadership that results in systematic embezzlement and theft of everyone in the government agencies." Well, who's on top of those agencies? Who is allowing that? Who has built this system of theft and embezzlement? We all know. So, and they also know, and they know that whoever's going to be listening to them also knows who they're talking about. The messages I've seen from Z people are mostly uncensored flow of cursing, and they tell the true story of the attacks. I mean, they hide no words. They say, well, their messages are complete incompetence of both Air Force and the secret police KGB. And towards Ukrainians, there's actually been very little anger, mostly admiring brilliant organization and courage. If you want an example, here it is. I already showed it to you in my previous streams, but it is such a showcase of what Z people, Z bloggers, военкоры think about the attacks, then I keep on repeating it. It's a perfect example, you know.
Владимир Владимирович, докладывай установку голоса.
There's no English translation needed. This guy tells it all.
22. Это к тому, что завтра будут,
And he goes on and on and on speaking that, and then every second word is swear. And most messages from Z people, more or less, like this message that I just showed you. I think you get the idea. An interesting development, number 3, the physical damages. The damages caused by the attacks are still being estimated. At this point, there's no final answer, neither how many planes were destroyed nor how much money, monetary damages has been caused to Russian state. What is clear now, at least there are 2,000 planes destroyed or damaged, or destroyed and damaged. And that it is clear that the cost that Russian taxpayers have paid, I guess, at least $1 billion. The Ukrainians give much higher numbers, 41 planes destroyed and $7 billion in damages, but I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, as always. What's important is the strategical nuclear bombers cannot be fixed or replaced. Russia has neither the technology nor manufacturing capabilities left. All those planes were manufactured long time ago in the USSR. So those missile carriers cannot be replaced. Now, we all understand this. The planes are impossible to replace. But today I heard a different opinion from the Deputy Minister of Foreign Relations, Ryabov. He said that, check this out, the planes were damaged, not destroyed, damaged, and will be restored. As the Defense Ministry said, these aircraft were not destroyed but damaged. They will be repaired, he told TASS when asked about Kiev terror attacks' potential impact of the strategic balance. So make your own conclusions. Apart from that, the vehicles we're talking about are not necessarily covered by these or those agreements. As for the START treaty, we have suspended it, as you know. He refuted the Kiev's regime's statements about the attack's aftermath. There is nothing of the kind, he stressed, adding that one should rely on the data released by the Russian Ministry of Defense. Now, folks, what I just showed you is a screenshot, well, a little video made from TASS article. TASS is Russia's premier largest propaganda information agency. And what you just seen right now is another example of the informational warfare Russia is doing. Not to Ukraine. Ukrainians know exactly what kind of damages, what kind of damages were made. Ukrainians are not affected by this crap. The targets of this Russian informational warfare are you. They are trying to disinform you right there. They're lying to you. They want you to have their opinion, which is a complete lie. Well, Mr. Ryabov, repair and restore this. Look at the pictures of the so-called damaged planes. There's not much left there. Yeah, restore and repair this. Restore and repair this. Yeah, I think that's just an easy fix, you know? So you have just seen an example of informational warfare that is waged on you, your head, your mind. I urge you, be informed, be smart, think critically. Don't buy the lies and the propaganda. Now, if you looked at the Russian media space on June 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, that's when the attacks that happened on the 1st and on the 3rd, you'd see much of anger of the physical damages caused, of this stuff, the planes burning, the dollars lost. Right here. Boom. That's what everyone was angry about. And they were angry that Ukrainians could actually execute this operation. This is Russia's most secret, most guarded facility, one of them. But it was about the anger about physical damages and about the easiness where Ukrainians executed this operation. The planes, the money. But now, when the dust is settling, it is becoming very clear that the real damage lies in absolutely different dimension. And that brings us to number 4. Development of number 4. And that it's getting interesting, folks. The development number 4 is the real damage. Where is it done? And how big it is? Before I jump to the interesting development number 4, I would like to take this opportunity to pause and sip this wonderful English breakfast tea. I would like to thank everyone in England for coming up with this idea of tea drinking. Thank you so much. wasn't, didn't originally come from England, but you popularized it and you made it possible to enjoy this wonderful, the best in the world tea. So cheers to you. And then I would like to take this opportunity, as always, to thank you, everyone who is a part of Inside Russia community. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting. Thank you for following me. For the messages, for prayers, for your love. Thank you for coffees. You buy me at buymeacoffee.com. Thank you for Patreon, PayPal. Just know that your support shows that it gives me inspiration. It shows that it proves me, myself, that I see that what I'm doing is valued by the people, by you. So thank you so much. I give you a promise that despite being demonetized by Google and not earning anything from this channel, despite that, that hurts, I put so much work in it, and knowing that Google has shut me down, it just hurts. I'm sorry. So despite all of that, I give you my word that I will continue my stand against Russian government, against unfairness, against the war, and continue telling you the truth. You have my word on that. Thank you so very much. Now, an interesting development number 4, the real damage done to Russia. And I think Vladimir Putin cares about that the most, and he's angry, very angry about that the most. Russia's nuclear triad. It consists of land-based intercontinental missiles, sea-based missiles, and air-based delivery missiles. Well, delivery planes for missiles. Russia's most guarded network of military facilities. Invincible. Impossible to breach. Well, impossible to reach, really, let alone to breach, damage, or destroy. Untouchable, unthinkable, classified. In Russia, very few people know anything about the triad, where the bases are located, what happens there, and so forth, It's for learning that one can go to prison. And 4 days ago, Ukraine showed the entire world that the invincibility of Russian nuclear triad turned out to be myth. The Ukrainians destroyed a good part of the nuclear triad using just a few men and 117 FPV drones that cost peanuts and can be bought at any store. And the other countries with the nuclear triads, the USA and especially China, are watching very closely. This is the real and most costly damage Russia has sustained. Now everyone knows that Russia's triad can be taken offline if needed, with little resources. And if you put a lot of resources, you wipe it off completely. In my opinion, it shows complete incompetence of the vertical of power, the system that governs Russia, that Vladimir Putin has created. It is guarding personal interests of Vladimir Putin, his family, and his friends, and allows him to keep his absolute power for as long as he needs it. But this system of governance, completely disregards the interests of people in the country. And that's where the weak spot of the system is. Vertical power is not sustainable. It depends on the personalities. It's not a system. It's just temporary structure. I think there's much to talk about, and I will do so in the following live streams. I have quite a few ideas, so please keep on tuning in. I think you will find lots of interesting information about the vertical of power, its strengths and weaknesses. I actually have a crazy idea to do a SWOT analysis, SWAT. I think that if you have run a business or worked in a corporation, you know what it is. It's an analysis, very basic but very effective analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It applies to pretty much anything, but it's used inside business community a lot. I used to use it all the time when I was in charge of business development of a large corporation. But anyway, that's a different story. I'm going to put the vertical of power under microscope and find its weak spots and how to hit them. Okay, so please keep on tuning in. And now, an interesting development number 5. Putin's reaction, his speech. Russian President Vladimir Putin came out of his 3-day hiding and finally commented on Ukraine's attack. His message is important. It speaks volumes of the future of Russia if we apply common sense and logic. And it speaks of what Russia is going to do to Ukraine. It might bring us one more key to understanding what lies ahead for both Russia and Ukraine. Well, first of all, I would like to emphasize that Putin was hiding for 3 days after the attacks. He made no public appearances or statements following the recent attacks for 3 days. This follows a pattern of Putin disappearing for 2 to 3 days after major security failures, attacks, or crises. His absence is perceived as weakness rather than strength by those within the Russian system, the vertical of power. The silence creates additional confusion and fear within the Kremlin power structures and circles. And that is a very good thing for Ukraine and for the world. That's another weakness that can be exploited. And I will talk more on that later. Now, finally, on June 4th, Vladimir Putin spoke. Let me just give a short summary of his speech. Decisions on blowing up the bridges, were made in Kiev at the political level. Civilians are always suffering in armed conflicts, but they were targeted in Bryansk province. By all international standards, this is terrorism. This was aimed at disrupting the negotiations. An already illegitimate regime in Kiev is degenerating into a terrorist organization, and its sponsors are becoming allies of terrorism. Kiev leadership is trying to intimidate Russia with terrorist attacks and at the same time is asking for a summit meeting. What should I talk about with them? Who even negotiates with terrorists? They doubt the level of our negotiators, Medinsky and the likes, but this level can only be assessed by those who have authority themselves. And what kind of authority do leaders of a thoroughly rotten and completely corrupt regime have? They are asking for truce, but why should they be encouraged by giving them a break? Which they use to pump up Western weapons and prepare other terrorist attacks. And this is not the first time they have refused our truce for 2 or 3 days. This doesn't surprise us, but only convinces us that they do not need peace. Peace means the loss of power, and the power is more important to this regime than the peace and the lives of people they don't consider human beings at all. Now, this was a short summary of Putin's speech, and I find it absolutely fascinating. Putin said something I couldn't have said better myself. Okay, and this is what it is. Now listen to this. Let me repeat it. It convinces us that they don't need peace. Peace means the loss of power, and power is more important to this regime than peace and the lives of people. Huh? Nice. Peace means the loss of power, and power is more important to the regime than peace and the lives of people. Voila! Full stop. Right there. Only Putin, he meant Ukraine, but he was really speaking of Russia. For so many years, I've talked about just that. That peace for Vladimir Putin would mean the loss of power. And the power is the most important thing among all. That's what he lives for. That's what he's been guarding for the past 25 years. Voila. Now we know. Freudian slip of the tongue? I don't know. But he nailed it. Now, if you listened, besides this, what I just told you about power, if you listened to this message, you'd be kind of wondering and you'd be confused. Nothing about Crimean Bridge, nothing about the planes, about the explosions, the bridges, terrorist attacks on the bridges in Bryansk province. What bridges? Well, guess what? There are 2 bridges that fell down in central Russia. And this is a very shady story. Okay? Very strange, very strange. At first, the bridge fell down. An automobile bridge fell on the railroad tracks while there was a train, and it smashed the train. At first, everyone labeled it as the terrorist act. Well, not everyone, the authorities. But then, bridges fall down in Russia every month or so. Okay, I have a list of recent bridges that just fell down because the money that is spent on infrastructure, the money stolen. Okay, that's how the vertical of power works. That's the reward of people who are part of vertical of power. They follow the orders, they support Putin, they strengthen his power, okay? But then in return, they're allowed to enrich themselves by stealing. And they steal everything they can. And the roads in Russia crap, and the bridges fall, and the power plants stop. And, heat pipelines blow up and things like that. So, bridge falling down is a tragedy, but it happens quite often. But it was labeled as a terrorist attack. But then, on the website of the Prosecutor General's office, it was changed from terrorist attack just to bridge falling down. And then, later, it was changed again to a terrorist attack. Putin didn't say anything about the attacks on the planes. He didn't say anything on the attack on the Crimea Bridge, as if it never happened. And that's the most favorite trick that Russian propaganda uses. They act as if nothing happened. They're just talking about the bridges, 2 bridges that collapsed in the central Russia. And Vladimir Putin's statement shows very clearly that he does not need peace. He's not interested in peace. He never considered, well, at least in the recent few months, he didn't consider concluding peace. He's up for war. That's all. And now an interesting development, number 6. The reaction of the American President Donald Trump. He actually called Vladimir Putin for the 4th time. All 4 times Donald Trump called Vladimir Putin, not the other way. And that's a clear sign of weakness in diplomacy, in politics. But hey, anyway, I quote Donald Trump. That's what he said yesterday. I quote, "It was a good conversation, but not one that would lead to immediate peace. The Russian president," well, unquote, okay, "that was a good conversation, but not one that would lead to immediate peace." It speaks volumes. Definitely, conversation would not lead to immediate peace, and it's absolutely clear. And I think Donald Trump understands that now. But then I don't understand his phrase, "it was a good conversation." I'm just wondering, what are they talked about, about their wives, their families, about playing golf. Nice conversation with Vladimir Putin amidst the war, okay? The Russian president, according to the US president, stated very decisively that he will be forced to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. You see, to the Russians, he tells one thing, to American president, he tells another thing. Dmitry Zelensky commented as well, I quote, "Many people have spoken to Russia at different levels. None of those conversations have led to sustainable peace or even to stopping the war. Unfortunately, Putin feels impunity, and even after all the horrific strikes, he is allegedly preparing some more answers. This means that with every new blow, every new postponement of diplomacy, Russia is giving the middle finger to the whole world, to everyone who does not want to increase pressure on it." I unquote Ukraine's President Zelensky. And I think that he's absolutely right here. I mean, I couldn't have said better myself. Russia, well, Putin, not really Russia, but Putin is giving everyone a middle finger. He was handed the victory not too long ago. Now he's back in business, back in the geopolitics. He has world leaders coming, talking to him, shaking his hands. Lots of people support what he's doing. He's showing the middle finger. That's true. And finally, today, Donald Trump made another comment. Just before I started the live stream, I just saw it. The US president said that he will take tough steps against both Russia and Ukraine if the war between the two continues to drag on. I quote Donald Trump, "The deadline is in my head. When I realized that this is not going to stop, and I'm sure that he was meeting with the new German Chancellor, Merz, and I'm sure that you, Merz, will do the same. Then we will act very, very, very harshly, and to be honest, this may apply to both countries, Russia and Ukraine. It takes two to tango. But we will be very tough, whether it's Russia or someone else. We will act toughly. That's all." I unquote Donald Trump. Some things from his speech I understand, and some I don't. I don't get one thing. Why is he going to punish Ukraine? For what? For defending itself from Russia? For giving US signing a deal with the USA for giving its rare earth? For not surrounding to Russia? That's what it seems like. What else can you punish Ukraine for? I hope that nothing like that happens. I hope that the American people are kind enough, smart enough, empathetic enough, and I know they are. And I hope that will continue, and Ukraine will not be punished, at least from the USA. It'd be nice to help Ukraine, but not punish them. I also understand another thing about what I heard from this short speech by Donald Trump, that now he understands that Vladimir Putin was wrapping him around his finger for 4 months and made him a fool in front of the whole world. It's not Donald Trump's action. Well, it's his actions, but it's Donald Trump wasn't making himself fool. I think he was hoping to end the war, okay, but he just fell for the trap. But if you're president of the United States, I mean, you gotta do better than that. You gotta do your homework. You gotta know who you're dealing with, okay? You gotta put your personal preferences aside. Putin has made him a fool in front of the entire world. Putin is celebrating the victory. But not so fast. Not so fast. Now, the story that's been unfolding after the Ukrainian attacks is what's the most interesting. Now, I think to sum it up, we are clearly seeing everyone who is listening to me right now, everyone who just follows the news, that the masks are off. That Russians have Vladimir Putin has admitted he is not looking for peace. Okay? He is looking to punish Ukraine more and more. I think the American president is sobering, and the actions might follow towards Russia. I just don't get one thing. It always, when I heard it a few times from Donald Trump, it's going to take 2 weeks. We'll see within the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks will be the key. The next 2 weeks will be decisive, It's always 2 weeks. Well, we'll wait for another 2 weeks, okay? But I think he understands quite well what's going on now. Putin doesn't even hide his intentions. He speaks of them publicly, and the masks are off. Again, Putin is celebrating the victory, but not so fast, because his victory is temporary, despite whatever he thinks. And Putin has a great deal of troubles that might rock his throne. And I think they're rocking his throne already. He might just not noticing, but he'd better, because things in Russia are happening. I'll speak more on that in more details in the live streams on Monday, June 9th, and there will be more live streams. So please tune in, come back to Inside Russia on June 9th. Thank you so very much. That has been my message for today. Before I turn the live stream chat on, I would like to remind you that I have Formula 54 to offer you. Inside Russia has a Patreon account. I maintain it along with my daughter Oля. And every single day, we select 9 news that we find important and make them available to patrons of Inside Russia with my commentaries and analysis sometimes. 9 news every day, 6 days a week, 54 news every week. I feel it helps those who are interested to know what's happening in Russia and with Russia, to find the information that is important, that matters, and that cannot be found anywhere in the mainstream media. Also, recently I started doing so-called daily snippets. A daily snippet is more than a news, less than a live stream, somewhere in between. Unrehearsed, unprepared. I just sit in front of the camera and tell you what I think the most important happening in Russia on this day. From 5 to 10 minutes. The response that I've had is very positive so far. So please try it. Consider becoming the Patreon of Inside Russia and have all access to the news that will make you an expert on the current developments in Russia. Friends, again, thank you. I would like to invite you to join me in the live stream chat. I am turning it on right now. I'll try to answer questions. We have about 20 23 minutes, something like that. While I'm doing that, I would like to remind you that Inside Russia is the best community on YouTube and on internet, and that is due to the support and help of the moderation team, the best one in the world: Lorna, Mami K, Bob S, Harry Potnan, Amir Fazad. Thank you, friends. Great people, great friends, and the best mods. Thank you. Please, no discussion of political situation in the United States. US politics are not part of this live stream chat. Don't attack, please. Don't attack or praise Donald Trump. It's a rule that we have because we don't want anyone fight over political issues that happen in the United States. And the rules are very simple. Please be nice to each other, respectful, respect other people's opinions, and that's it. English only, by the way. And if you want to if you want me to see your question or comment easier, please put it in all caps or put Inside Russia after @ so I see it highlighted in orange. It's much easier for me to see. There's so many messages usually. And if I miss your message somehow, it's not because I ignore you. It's because I simply have too many messages. Keep on posting, and sooner or later I should get to it. Now hang on 1 second, please. I see quite a few people already in the chat. Lorna, thank you so much for coming. Lorna, anyone else? The usual suspects. Howdy, friends. So again, highlighted in orange is the best for me to see your comment or message, just like Baker Stock did. Thank you so much. Werner, howdy. Good Nabend. I assume that the military is aware that Putin will always sides with his Siloviki, not only when it comes to blaming someone. Could this endanger Putin? This is a very serious question. It's one of the weak spots. I'd say not the only, but the biggest force that can change the regime in Russia is the military. And if you look in history, the militaries are always behind changing the czars, kings. And it comes from, I don't know, it's probably embedded in human DNA. Do you know that the Praetorians were behind most changes of Roman emperors? That's a fact. The most danger Roman emperors had came from their own guards, the Praetorians, especially in the later stages of the empire. Russia is not any different, okay? And Vladimir Putin knows that very much. He trusts only his Siloviki. Well, army is technically also Siloviki, but he trusts the KGB. He's part of the KGB. That's one of their own. He's one of their own. He trusts his Praetorians, Federal Service of his security. And the government, the military, they know that. And they are in a state of war. And we are seeing it right now. The KGB and the military are doing finger pointing. And I think that the thorough investigation has already begun. And there will be heads cut off, figuratively speaking, okay? And right now, the both agencies have intensified the war with each other. It was like a struggle before, now it's a war. So that's not good for Putin. That's You know, the generals know that he's not one of their own. The generals know he's the KGB. It's gonna get interesting. Leitmotif from Bowie, Maryland. Howdy. Bob S., good to see you. Thank you for coming. Koshkin Dome, Tom W. Milan Kovac, 2025 is a roller coaster. Well, yes, and I've said it many times. It's going to be a very interesting year, and it is. Angela McNaught, good to see you. Dale, Ron Gravel, finally had to go out back 3 times to get the live stream. Thank you, Ron. Good to see you. Kermo, every time you show up, you're always fresh after sauna. Good. Faith Russard, howdy, from hot Spain. Oh, we have a new member, UC7UF. V blah, 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 blah. Hello there. Sam the Legend K, howdy. Andrew from South Africa, great to see you as always. Mabek, chat was disabled earlier. Yes, it was on purpose because I don't like to be interrupted when I deliver the message. Mr. Kaliskin from sunny Chicago. Usually it's windy, but now it's sunny. Well, summer is nice, isn't it? Ronnie.s, Gloria, Mac. Whoa, Mac is back. Good to see you. Mac from Switzerland. Good to see you, friend. We missed you. Mouse the German, also back from Germany. Well, in Germany, but back to the channel. Guten Abend. Edward Hem from Washington, D.C. Hello, Edward. Philip, hello from Slovakia again. Are in Russia restrictions on the purchases of chemicals needed to produce explosives after the start of the war in Ukraine? I think in the USSR you could buy magnesium, just anything to make like a small explosive. They banned the sales of some stuff. Chemistry is not one of my strengths, strong points, strong skills. I didn't like chemistry in school. I studied enough to pass it. I know that chemistry is actually very basic. You can build anything with ingredients that you can find somewhere. Look at the drug manufacturers, drug dealers. They make drugs at home. I think it's fairly easy to obtain chemicals needed. I don't know whether they're banned or not. Honestly, I have no clue. But if you buy AK-47 in Rostov-on-Don for $100 right now, pretty much anywhere, on every corner, they're sold. Russia is flooded with guns. Then I'm pretty sure you can buy anything else. Nike does things. Do you still visit the Breakfast Club? I loved watching your streams with them. Well, Nike does things. Friend, not only I continue visiting the Breakfast Club, I'm the founder of the Breakfast Club. I am the one who gets people together. And we still do the same thing. We still show up for breakfast. Sometimes there are quite a few of us, sometimes not too many. But on Saturdays and Sundays, there are dozens and dozens of people, the old members, the new members, and I do live streams for Patreons on Patreon every Saturday from Breakfast Club. So please join Patreon and you will get a glimpse into what we do at the Breakfast Club. And everyone is pretty comfortable with me filming and live streaming, not like in the old days when everyone was freaking out. I think you remember that. So I plan on making short, unedited videos and uploading them to Patreon, and I certainly do live stream every Saturday around noon Tashkent time. And it's available. If you go to Patreon right now, you'll see 2 live streams already there. Adnov, Putin is cooked. He is. It's just a matter of time. How much time it's going to take, no one knows. Elsha, very clever stream. Thank you so much. Always great to hear from you, especially the compliments. Roman Beck, howdy. Sam, can we talk about pineapple and pizza? Another slice of bent discussion. I really didn't get Sorry, didn't get that. I guess we can talk about pineapple pizza, you know. The Praetorians were the emperor's makers, and they were emperor's enders. Legacy City, Texas. Carol Lynn. Carol, hello. Send in my love from Uzbekistan, and I heard that everything is bigger and better in Texas. Chris Fox, howdy. Joe's Rames. Rock Bard, howdy. Carlos, how a country with imperial ambitions didn't invest in the development of new bombers. Is there a similar case with submarines? Yes, of course, there's a similar case with submarines. As far as I know, there aren't any new submarines. The old ones are aging. They all were either created or the manufactured, or their manufacturing started in the USSR. It just shows you how weak Russia in its organization. Because everything that is being done is not for the sake of the country, its greatness, its development, its security, but for the sake of people who control the resources. They just steal the resources. They steal as much as they can, and if they're smart, they stop before they get caught and run to France, to the USA. If you go to Miami, there's a part of Miami called Sunny Isles. That's a Russian America. That's what it's called, because most of people there are Russian thieves who stole lots of money and managed to move them to the USA and bought expensive properties and living nice, the best life they can. Okay, and that's why nothing gets done. That's why Russia is. I can't really say it's decayed. It's just fallen apart. Imagine a car. You build a car and then you start driving it, and you need to maintain it. Imagine what happens if you don't maintain. It starts falling apart. First, you barely see problems, then you start noticing them more and more, and then the engine stops working, the wheels fall off, the steering wheel doesn't steer as well any longer, and so forth. And that's is what that Russia is today. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know how to name it. In the past, I would say unfortunately. Now, I'm not so sure. I think it's fortunately for the world. Because what do you get if you threaten others with bad things, Benjamin von der Noot, howdy. Thank you for the nice words. Will Putin never use a nuke? Maybe a small one after humiliation at some point. It doesn't matter for him. It's a very, very hard question. There are tactical nukes and strategical nukes. He definitely will not use strategical nukes. Okay, that defeats the purpose. But tactical nukes, there have been some talks about that. I hope not. What this such event would do is it would put the war in Ukraine into an absolutely different ball game, after absolutely different category. I think everyone would just double down on strangling Russia, including the United States, would not be able to stand aside someplace, okay, if Russia uses nukes. And this act would show that Vladimir Putin has gone crazy, like Donald Trump said a few days ago. He said Putin is crazy, but then he called Putin again for some reason. So it would show everyone that Putin would completely lost it. And that's, I think that, I hope he's not going to do that. Kev Sullivan, old tires burn like hell. Agreed. Ron, the Praetorian Guards made the emperorship a hazardous job. You know what? I will extend your phrase. I think that not just the Roman emperorship was a hazardous job, but any emperorship, any dictator has a very dangerous job, okay? Because it's much easier to get on top than to fend off all who are trying to topple you, take you down, okay? And then we see that that's the job I wouldn't want to have. Or I think that's a curse, more like a job. It's not good life. It's just insane. For myself, I have a very different understanding of a happy life. If I had a home, place I could call home, if I had understanding that I would be able to remain in a certain place, in a place that I like, for the rest of my life, get a citizenship, I would understand that my kids would stay in this place, in that place, and then I would be surrounded by my children. I would have income. I would have my wife right besides me, and I would be loved, and I would give love back. That's my understanding of a happy life. Sergei Shoigu, it's actually a very good thing to mention on Friday live stream. He spoke out. It's a very unusual event, him speaking out publicly. And he was actually quite personal. And he said, I've been on the very top, and it's very lonely out there. If you think that it's a good life, and if it's fun to be on there, no, it's very lonely. And I think for Putin is even more lonely, okay? And it's even more scary. It's even more cold to be there. So it's not a good job. Emperorship is just curse, more like a job. Im Internet falsch am abgebogen. Hello. Nice name. Hello from Bielefeld, Germany. So, guten Abend. Thank you so much for your streams. Could you imagine to live in Germany? Well, I admire Germans. My wife is partially German, makes my son German. My mother-in-law is so much more German. I think she speaks German. So my ancestry of my wife is Volga German. Yeah, I like Germany very much. Can I imagine living in Germany? If you asked me this 5-10 years ago, I would say no. I've been to Germany multiple times. I love the country very much. Living there, you see, I consider the USA my kind of second home. I spent there 9 years, and I love it. Absolutely love the country. I love the people. I could. So if you asked me 10 years ago, I probably would say no. Now, if you ask me now, I'd say anything is possible now. By the way, for Russians, it's become much more difficult to get to Germany than before. A cousin of my wife, his wife, they decided to relocate to Germany as Germans. Through German ancestry, and they were approved. All the papers were approved. They passed. They took and passed the German exam, and I think tests and things like that. They proved that they're German, so they were approved, and they've been waiting for the paperwork to come, and so they could move to Germany. But they've been waiting for like 3.5, almost 4 years now, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Unicorn, Volga German too. Welcome to the club. I'm not Volga German. I'm Russian with Ukrainian descent. Well, I'm more like a Cossack because Cossacks did not consider themselves to be Russian. But I'm a mix of a Cossack and Ukrainian. But my parents were brought up as Russian, and I was brought up as Russian. And I'm not German in any way, although who knows. But welcome to the club. We have this German club here. Me and Natasha. Hello, Constantine from Brazil. Whoa, that's a long way from here. I'm against Brazilian democracy that supports Putin. I think your president soiled his pants by saying, oh, you know what, I'm just going to talk to Putin, convince him to stop the war. And then he actually flew to Moscow. And then Putin kept him at the airport. He didn't even meet him. Okay, so the guy spoke to Putin on the phone and, flew back to Brazil. And Russians are actually laughing about that. Yeah, so makes Fernando. Makes two of us. I don't like this guy who supports Putin as well. Sea Farmer, when are you coming to Maine? I'll buy your lobster roll. This question actually hurts me a bit. Well, thank you, friend. I hope that one day, but I don't know. I don't know. Mao's the German. Germany is not Germany. There are tons of different cultural areas. Remember, we're 100 kingdoms just 150 years ago. And then one of the things I like about Germany and about other countries as well, like I know the same thing in Italy. This is fantastic. You people could get united and become one country, but at the same time you have kept your cultural differences, but they do not stand in the way of communicating with each other. I really admire that and I respect that very much. Best wishes from Denmark. Jan von Ruden, thank you so much. Bob S. sends me a time reminder. Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. All right, so we're 5 minutes past. 2 questions and then I'll finish up. I think I missed lots of questions. I'm gonna look for 2 people I haven't taken the questions from yet. Matias, where in Tashkent is the breakfast club? I'll stay in Tashkent a few days in July. Perhaps I can come and enjoy some morning coffee with you guys. Matias and everyone, you are welcome. to come and join and have a coffee, I'll buy you coffee. How about that? I don't want to disclose the location, but if you write me email to my email address, you will find it in the About section. I will gladly tell you the location. We have had quite a few people visited us. We had Estonian ambassador to the Central Asia. We had quite a few people from the USA, from Austria, from Poland, from what else? Canada, the USA. Did I mention Canada? From France. So please come and join. Might be away in July for a few days. We're going to get a visa, student visa. We'll try to get student visa extension for my daughter, and I'll have to fly with her away from Tashkent. But I think in July I'll be back, so it's gonna be pleasure. And Mouse the German, Konstantin, how do you think Russia will react to Operation Spiderweb? It's going to hit Ukraine with one or multiple rockets, big rockets, perhaps ballistic rockets, and it's going to cause quite a bit of damage. Putin said he's forced to do that to Donald Trump. That hurts. That hurts. I know it's coming. I don't know what to do. I don't want to think about it even. That's how I think it's going to be retaliated. And Karen Blalak, I'm concerned for Ole's. No, your spelling is perfect. Thank you. I'm concerned for Ole's status as a student in the US because so many foreign students' visas are being revoked. I hope she isn't affected. Well, Ola needs to fly out of the USA and renew her visa because it expires on August 13th or something like that. So anyway, that's what I said in the previous comment. We're going to be flying to the same place we got the visa from last time, and she'll be applying for visa again. Hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, hopefully they'll extend her visa, but she's very scared. I am very concerned. It's adding a lot of stress to our lives. So thank you for your kind words. And friends, I would like to finish the live stream with a prayer. Let me grab my list of names on the prayer list. Please join me. Thank you so very much. We have about 100 people right now, which is awesome. Thank you again for coming. Thank you it's my honor. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for giving us this day. Thank you for putting food on our tables and giving roofs over our heads. Thank you for surrounding us with people who love us and who we love. Thank you for our families and children. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful. And please give us wisdom to raise our children so when they grow up, they will never fight in any wars. They will just make this world a better place. For now, please keep our children safe and healthy. Dear Lord, I am asking you to stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. Please help Ukraine achieve peace. Ukrainian people have suffered so much, and they need a break, they need peace, they need to return to normal lives. Please help everyone who has been affected by this terrible tragedy in Ukraine. Answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. Please reach out and touch the hearts of those who can make the decision to stop the bloodshed. Fill their hearts with love. mercy, empathy, remorse, soften their hearts so they will remember that they're still human beings and make the decision to stop the war. Please help my country, Russia. Assemble your strongest angels with sharpest swords into a large, strong heavenly army. Have Saint Michael lead it down to this earth and get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, who we know by their names and by their faces. Please send your angels to help good Russian people to run the country, make it peaceful, respecting, and loving. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Help everyone who is in trouble right now of any kind, send safety and help. Please help everyone who is seeking for asylum, running away from evil. Send good people their way. Help everyone who is helping Ukrainians and help Ukrainians who are currently under attacks from Russian weapons. Please help single mothers and fathers who are struggling, trying to make ends meet, raising their children. Please send them help. And I'm also asking for the people in need, the addicted, the cold, the hungry, the sick, the jobless, the homeless, the ones who are losing their faith, the ones who are depressed, the ones who are crying, the ones who are betrayed, the ones who are going through divorces, the ones who feel abandoned, the ones who feel not loved. Reach out and touch the heart of every single person in need. Remind them that they are still your children, that you love them, you care for them, you have not abandoned them, and you watch every step they take. Send them help, please. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to come together and pray. Thank you for everyone who's praying along with me or simply watching us pray. Please, in this live stream, whoever is praying along with us or watching, make their prayer come true. Make their answer their prayer and make their wish come true. Thank you so much. Dear Lord, I'm also asking for some people who need your help. They are Greg. Please send recovery and strength to Greg and his family so Greg is healed and comes back home. Lee and Brenda, Uli Yun, Daniela Fromm and her family, Janice, Rose Halbert Bronicky, Teresa, Karsten, Ann Larson, Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Katharina Holm, Alex, Mark, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Gabin with Gary, Lisa, Harry, Terry, John, Linda, Paula, Dennis, Jason Carney, Susie, Tim Mayers, Dory, Rhonda, John, Taylor, Wayne, Dave, Darla, George Ruberty, Pamela, Meta Spencer, David Porter, and everyone in Chernovtsi, Leif, Randolph, Grace, Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natasha, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey, Liz, Ron, Liz, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Mike and Mike, Petra Olson, Chodes, Millie, Philip, Eileen, Highwayman, Victor, Denise Abbott, Jeff Gibson, and Derek Martinez. Dear Lord, please help every single child who is not feeling well, who is sick. Please send recovery and please send your angels to comfort and every child in pain, in fear, and send recovery to everyone. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. friends, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for this message. I couldn't finish this message yesterday. Took me a longer time. I'm medicated right now. I go to hospital to take IVs for 3 more days. I kept on getting sick for some reason. Well, a lot of Russians who fled Russia and have been under prolonged stress, they're fallen down with different things. And my thing is, I guess I get sick quite often. So sometimes you hear it from my coughing and my changed voice and things like that. So please bear with me. I will show up definitely tomorrow for Friday crazy news update. And then Saturday, there will be a live stream for patrons only in the morning from the Tashkent Breakfast Club. Then there will be live stream for patrons on YouTube. The first one will be on Patreon, and the second one will be on YouTube for patrons. There will be daily snippet tomorrow, and then I take Saturdays and Sundays off for daily snippets, and I take Sunday completely off for everything. I try to recover as much as I can. So this is the schedule for the remaining of the week, and I will see you tomorrow. And let me remind you that I think that you are awesome and you rock. And before I sign off, as usual, asking to say out loud along with me, as loud as you can, the following. Carthago delenda est.